I think you look good, dude.
Okay, start.
All right, yeah. Well, welcome back, everybody, to episode, I don't even know at this point. We're episode 5, okay. The nerd behind the camera is telling me episode 5. So yeah, welcome back to the JourneyCast. I'm excited for today's episode just because it holds a personal place in my heart. I think Zach can say the same. But yeah, I'm feeling good. We're here at the beautiful little Everleigh studio that we've taken over. Ali, if you're listening, we are switching the locks and barricading ourselves. So sucks to suck, I guess. Nah, I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, let me introduce our guest today, Jax from Shippie, someone we went to high school with, someone who, in my opinion, has always been a little bit of a low-key genius, as I may say so.
Couple steps ahead.
Yeah, always a couple steps ahead, 100%. Always made me feel like, okay, I won't say dumb. He didn't make me feel dumb, but no, I just always like, I think I admired you in high school, like from an intellectual standpoint. I don't think I realized that in high school, obviously, because I was a teenager. But I think looking back, yeah, you've always kind of held yourself very highly. So welcome to the JourneyCast, Jax.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So happy to hear, man. I was so excited to make this happen. Let's dive into it, dude. Like, I remember you were like, first of all, even before we start, like, the reason why this is such a special episode is like journeys, right? Like, we all go through different walks of life. We all go different things of life. We all, it's cool because we all share that same journey of Hodan Nolea High School, or as they call it, Vaughn Secondary School.
Yeah.
So it's cool that like we're all three in the room, together. We obviously like didn't stay. And to be honest with you, between the three of us, I don't know if you guys were tight back in the day, but like we weren't really in the same friend group. Like none of us were really in the same friend group. So it's still cool that we all came from Vaughn, and like whether it's a small interaction, whether we knew somebody, then it's like we all just reconnect later. You go off into China and you start a restaurant.
No, I don't know if that's confirmed.
That is confirmed.
It is confirmed?
Yes.
I did.
Okay. I wanted to get into that later.
Well, we'll start with that. We'll start with that. Let's walk through what happened after high school. Let's catch up on each other's journeys.
Well, like, firstly, before that, did you ever think you'd be sitting here with us, like, 10 years down the line?
No. Definitely.
Because to me, this is so wild. Like, we went to high school together, didn't talk and me and Zach didn't talk for 10 years after, 6 years after. But it's cool, no?
It's a great surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since high school, I also knew that there was something in the both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
I didn't just saying that, but thank you.
No, for sure. I knew that you guys would go and do something because all through high school, you guys were like industrious guys. You did stuff. You'd be in groups. You would go out. So I was pretty confident, even though we weren't super close back then. We're here now, right?
Yeah. Walk us through what happened after high school. I think you went to, what school did you go to? And then I'll get into how you got to China.
Did you go to uni?
Yeah.
I didn't have a dropout. No, yeah, I did.
No, listen, there's a lot of very successful dropouts.
I did. Okay. I went to University of Toronto, so I studied political science, philosophy, and economy. Was going to go to law school. That was the plan, take the LSAT, but decided to take a little bit of a break after your undergrad. So I moved back to China. As Zach mentioned, I did a little restaurant business there as well as an education, like a little tutoring company. Because at the time, I mean, if you did a little research back then,
it was hot.
I mean, I was making $100 an hour just teaching English to like 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
So like there was a lot of need for that education, especially for that English education, math, science, taught in English, because all these students were going from China into the Western market. Right?
Yeah.
Wait, so run me through this restaurant, because to me, it's just like this, almost like a legend. Like, I don't even know if it really exists.
It existed like for 6 months because we started it. It was a partnership, so it wasn't just me. It was me, a friend, and also one of my family members. So we all split it 3 ways. We got the restaurant up and running. It was a fine dining restaurant, but more focused on the bar aspect. So like the food was cheap, but we made the money back on the bar.
Like,
it did well until COVID hit.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So that's kind of what changed everything. So COVID hit, the Chinese government closed down, everything started going lockdown.
Yeah, of course.
Luckily, I had to come back for a wedding. So my aunt's wedding was then. So I came back for a wedding, and then they started shutting everything down, and then I had to figure out, okay, what's next? What do I do next? So the next was law school. I did the LSAT. I did all that. I was going to apply. But then I said, you know what? I'm going to take the entrepreneurship journey instead. I'll dive headfirst into creating a company, and that company was Shippie.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow. So, yeah, like what made you decide to, because I'm always so interested in hearing about the moments that entrepreneurs or kind of aspiring entrepreneurs go from, okay, I'm going down a regular path right now, whether it's law school or working for Google, whatever company it is, as just like an employee. Like, I'm always interested as to what happens in that moment when you decide, you know what, I want to take this leap of faith. I want to go down the entrepreneurial road.
That's a great question. I mean, I don't think I could pinpoint a specific moment. I know some people do have that moment, you know, like I know right then and there. Yeah. I think it was more just born out of necessity. It was like at the time I was hanging out with the co-founders. We were all kind of doing our own things. Some of us had Shopify stores. I had family members who were trying to order stuff through local stores that they liked, but they were waiting 5 days for Canada Post. So there was a need there. There wasn't really anything on the market just yet. And then me with my co-founders. Luckily, they're technical. So our two co-founders are technical. They're really strong developers. They used to work at Shopify and Mixpanel, so they're really high caliber. So we just sat down Christmas of 2020, and they just wrote the code. They just built the platform, and then in February of 2021, we're live, and we had our first client.
I love that.
It almost like the fact that you said that I was kind of just like doing my own, I was just going about life, and I saw this opportunity. I saw that my family members and friends were ordering things that took a while to come, and I saw this opportunity. That goes to show the type of person you are, that intelligent mindset that you carry through your life, right? Because you're able to just randomly see an opportunity and jump on that, take action, and literally start a full-scale company to solve that issue.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, I couldn't do it alone, that's for sure.
No, for sure.
You know, we need the co-founders, but same to you guys.
We couldn't do it alone either.
Yeah, but
like say you guys took a leap of faith, like screw it.
Oh no,
I mean,
for sure.
Well, our story was a little
marketing.
different in the sense that like we were having a tough time getting jobs, like in our own respects, minus Evan. Okay, Evan can work at any agency once.
No, that's what I'm saying, man.
But we were at a point where like I needed to, you know, I talk about this in previous episodes where it's like, you go to school and then you get hired as a junior and then you do a senior, and it's like I couldn't get a junior anywhere, and then I worked for a guy for a couple days, and then it's like, wait a minute, like this seems like I think I can kind of do this, you know. And then I connected with Nerlin. So for us, it was more so of like time is going by. We're young. We're 24, 25. Like we got to make some moves happen ASAP, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of just, you know, walking through time and like just not sitting here and doing nothing.
Yeah. No, you definitely took that leap of faith, to Jax's point.
Yes,
I just like, for me, I'm saying like I'm always fascinated at these entrepreneurs and founders of businesses and products that like saw an opportunity to create something unique or useful. Like with our marketing agency, there's a million marketing agencies out there, right? We didn't create something like so-called quote unquote unique, right? It's not like Shippie or some of the other, you know, products that like some Journey members have created. So I'm just always fascinated as it's like how people like you figure out that there's a need for something and then take all that action to create a product that solves that solution.
I think it really comes down to intuition. And I think a lot of people choose not to listen to it. A lot of people kind of doubt their gut. A lot of people. And I think those are the people who have great potential. Like everyone has potential to be an entrepreneur and to start a business and to do something. But I think it's that, you know, that little bit inside of them that needs to get pushed
And you just
out.
always had that in you?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess so. I think just growing up, moving around all the time, having to adapt to new things, figuring out what's different here, what's different there, connecting the dots, you know, growing up in China versus growing up here. Like I always had to figure out how to adapt. And when you're forced to figure out how to adapt, I feel like it's a little bit easier to see those connections.
What's something that you learned in the Chinese business community that like you brought here and like really helped you? I'm so curious because like like Canada, I know the game. I know how to play the game in Canada, but if you drop me in China, if you drop me in like, you know, like Uganda or something, like
I would say you have to be relentless. Like the way that the Chinese people do business is like there's no working hours. Like here you have a 9 to 5. The idea to them is like, what do you mean? You finish when you're done work.
At 5 or when the work is done?
When the work is done, right? So it's that mentality where it's like, no. Weekends off. Like we always have this idea of work-life balance and all that, which I'm not saying is bad. Of course you need to have it. But I think why a lot of immigrants, specifically immigrants, are getting ahead is because they have that, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll just keep going. And I think that was a big lesson that I got growing up in China. Even if I came from like a, you know, moderately wealthy family who could afford all the luxuries, it was still like, if you want to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Right? Don't wait for
100%.
somebody to kind of like give you something, help you out. Just do it.
Yeah. My sister worked in and lived in Singapore for 6 years, and exact same thing. Like the people who live in Singapore, mostly like the locals, my sister used to always tell me that their work ethic, like work was everything to them. And no one complained. It was kind of just like baked into their DNA. Yeah, there was I don't know how the work-life balance is there, but yeah, she always used to tell me, I mean, people worked really hard. So I guess that's the
downside to that though is that like if you don't enjoy what you're doing,
yeah, obviously,
right,
screwed,
then you have this issue.
Yeah.
And you
So
have this internal battle.
You come home, you take your break, you come home to China. What part of China are you in?
Beijing.
Beijing. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So most of my family is in Beijing.
like, where are your parents, your mom and dad?
So my dad lives in Beijing, but my mom is they live here with my stepdad.
Okay. So you're dropped into there. Is it your idea to start the restaurant? Is it someone else's? Were you kind of like dragged into that?
No, it was a collective effort. It was something that we found a spot, we found a space. It was great foot traffic.
Yeah.
Nobody anticipated COVID. This is the issue.
That's yeah.
We were doing quite well.
Do you think you like, because it's funny, I have a similar path or journey that I took. I ended up as Zach and Erlin's partner and working as, like a partner in a marketing agency because of COVID, because I was working at a restaurant and helping out with their marketing, and COVID hit. I lost my job and I had to, pivot, and I ended up here. So it sounds similar to you. Do you think if COVID didn't happen, you'd still be in China running that restaurant?
Probably. Yeah, I probably would still be back.
How does that
there.
make you feel? Are you happy? Not that COVID happened, but are you happy doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of lived my life with not trying to look back and make like, oh, I regret
Hindsight
I did that.
decisions,
Yeah, like it. I feel like that hinders moving forward. The more you kind of look back and go, oh, I wish I should have done this, or I wish I should have done that, and you kind of go down that path and you project like, oh, what my life will be like. It's a waste of time, honestly.
Yeah.
So I just kind of look forward. I am
have a
here
feeling-
now. Just keep moving forward.
I have a feeling you're building something now, but you will be. This is not the last that the restaurant industry has seen of you. Like,
No.
you will come back.
I've always been interested.
Oh,
in
yeah?
it.
I've always
Oh,
loved it. I've always loved
I mean,
it. Too.
food, before I started, like I was cooking daily. Like I cooked
no
for the
way.
family. I was like,
Yeah.
I was really into it. I was considering doing cooking school. Like I really wanted to get into it. But the business aspect of running a restaurant attracted me.
Yeah. It's also, there's major
It's
down.
cutthroat.
What was your
cutthroat,
job at the restaurant? Like, were you?
I was just like co-owner. I was a part owner.
Okay.
So I would come in, on opening nights, making sure everything's okay, greeting the guests, bringing
What was
in friends.
what was the place called?
Peeking in.
Peeking in.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Kinda
so
like
it's
that,
like a
like
it's a double
peeking.
entendre. So peeking as in the Beijing in, but you're peeking in. To the restaurant.
Yeah. Then
I
it's
came up with
like,
the name.
That's sick.
What kind of food? Like fine dining.
So it was northern Chinese food.
Okay.
It wasn't too expensive on the food end, but as I mentioned, the bars. So we had like
Yeah.
a specialty
Special
drink.
drinks. Yeah.
It was served in a bird cage. It was served with
Damn.
duck fat,
Wow.
a little sliver of cucumber, liquid smoke. So it's like we hired professional bartenders
Of
who
course.
were really, really high
Yeah,
bar
of course.
to create specialty drinks for the restaurant.
Wow, that's really
Beautiful.
interesting.
So you come home. COVID comes. Like, why do you leave China? Like, because it's tough there with COVID, or like, why do you come back to Canada?
So primarily it was because of the wedding.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
it kind of coincided. It was like, okay, I got to go back for a wedding. I came back for the wedding, and then everything started like the
Getting
shit hit
worse.
the fan.
Yeah.
Like
so did you have like
borders
stuff in
started
China
closing.
that like you left? Like,
Yeah, I had clothes. I mean,
Yeah,
I had
stuff
stuff,
like
but
that,
it's
yeah.
home. It's another home, so
Yeah,
it's just there when
okay.
I'm ready to go back.
true. So you come home, start
Come
meet up with your
home.
buddies, meet up with your co-founders.
Not even. I was figuring out what do I do now,
Yeah.
right? And then speaking to some family members. I was always into law. That was why I took my undergrad.
Yeah.
So I started doing the LSATs. I started studying. I took it twice. I did pretty well. I was on the verge of sending out applications. Then I met with my co-founder Jimmy. We went to go have lunch.
Yeah.
You knew him before?
Yeah, so Jimmy and I went to we knew each other since we were in grade 5. Like
That's awesome.
back in the day in Shanghai.
a journey.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's a
that's kind
journey.
of where luckily we had that trust built in.
Yeah,
And I feel
yeah,
like a
yeah.
lot of founders
Yeah.
when they're looking for a co-founder, it takes a while
Yes.
to build
Yeah.
that. And you don't even know 6
Isn't
months in,
it
it's like, ooh,
tough,
did
though?
I pick the right guy or girl?
Isn't it tough though? Because like with me, like for example, Nerlin and Evan, like we were business first, and then we became close friends.
Mm-hmm.
With this guy, your co-founder, like you guys were friends first, and then it became business.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found that to be kind of difficult in some instances, or is it just you guys are just very lucky because you both are working hard to build something together?
It's definitely hard in the sense that now most of the conversations we have are regarding business.
Yeah.
But luckily we weren't super, super close in like high school and university.
Okay,
Like he
so,
went to a different
yeah.
high school.
it's like me
I
and
moved
Zach.
away. Yeah. So
Okay.
we kind of had a little break.
You're mutual.
So when we got back together, it was still like friends, but we knew, okay, we're going to do business together, right?
Yeah. Fair.
Wait, and then I don't want to drag on the episode anymore. Like, I want you to explain, and I know you touched upon it briefly at the beginning, but just like for the listeners that don't know what Shippie is, just briefly run through what your company is, what they do, what makes you special.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, we're essentially building the platform for small businesses, medium-sized, even enterprise clients to efficiently get their deliveries out in the same day. So our goal, our vision is, 5-10 years down the line, every urban city with roads, with cars, with internet, they have an ability to get same-day deliveries out. So just the goal is just to standardize same-day deliveries. It's
And
not
build trust too. You build trust with these companies, right?
Yeah, and it's not difficult. And we took a lot of lessons from China because same-day delivery is there, like it's ubiquitous. It's been there for years, right? So when I'm speaking to folks back there, they're like,
what?
Like, you guys don't have that yet?
It's like, wait, you guys don't have colored TV?
2022, guys. What's going on, So we just took that and we said, yeah, we can build it here. Of course, the difficulty is the labor, right? China, you have so many people that you can tap into, so your cost is lower. But we've managed to figure out the operations. So we're here and we're serving over 150 clients in the local area. Doing over 20,000 deliveries per month. So
Crazy.
Insane.
You're like a modern day Santa.
yeah, exactly. You can think of it. Yeah, wake up in the morning, you put an order in, and it gets you at the end of the night.
Dude, I love getting packages. Oh, I'm
It's fun.
obsessed.
It's fun.
Yo, I like check the tracking, and then I have like a Ring doorbell, so then it says
get to
like
see it.
motion, someone at the door, and I just go running and I open it up, and there's like a box on the ground.
The guy's like, back off.
Yo, it's actually it's almost like an addictive feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Well, why do you think those unboxing videos are so popular?
Yeah, true.
I think I love what you guys do, and when we were working together, and just like a relationship between our two companies, like you, like Amazon, like you go to Amazon, you buy the candle, you call it a day. There's like, you have these little Shopify sites, right? And all over. And like, I feel like there's just like this distrust. And when more brands take Shippie under their wing and more of them are getting same day delivery or like ASAP delivery, I think it just builds that trust. Like the product will come. Like I remember being younger and I wanted to buy the shirt. My brother's like, we were on the computer together. We're gonna get the shirt together. And he's like, can't order this. Like, you don't know if it's actually going to come, right? Like there's that distrust for some of these brands. Like having Shippie, being able to compete with Amazon like that with distribution is like such a tool for these companies to utilize.
For sure. And luckily we also see, on our clients' end, there's a growing sentiment that they don't want to be on Amazon. Right? If you ask a lot of merchants, they don't want to be on Amazon. It's cutthroat. I mean, they take a huge portion of your margin.
Exactly.
They, there's a lot of unsavory business practices where people buy and sell reviews. So it's a really hard environment to survive in, especially if you're a small, mid-sized business trying to scale. Amazon will cut if your product's doing really well, they'll come out with an Amazon Basic.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean,
like the
they
tripod or the battery.
Yeah, I also, from like just like a consumer standpoint, I just find like products on Amazon are like there's a lot of drop shipping on Amazon. You don't know the quality. There's a lot of kind of like not knockoff fake products, but
low quality, just
low
very
quality.
low quality,
And I
cheap
think,
products.
like a lot of these small businesses that you're talking about, whether it's a coffee shop or whatever it may be that they're selling, I just feel like when you put that product on Amazon, it grades it a little bit.
Sure.
I think
it's also hard for the merchants to build a loyal client base if you're on Amazon. It's not personal, right?
Yeah.
So our goal is to try to say, you know what, small businesses, we want to keep having you guys grow. Forget about your logistics headache.
Yeah.
Right. We're here to give you a quicker delivery than Amazon can in Canada, at least because they haven't done the same day yet. But that's kind of where we're going.
Let's do a nice plug for Shippie right now. So let's say, for example, I have my own candle company. We're doing pretty well. I've partnered up with Alejandra, who is super famous in the candle making game. I'm going to get tons of orders. Like, how does this work? Do I like pick a warehouse? Like, walk me through it. Like, I'm just starting my business. Like, how do I get it?
You hop on a call with one of our sales guys. We set you up with an account, and you don't have to worry about anything anymore.
Okay, but where does the product go? Like, where does it sit? Like, how does it work?
the North Pole.
So, the elves pack it up, it depends on the merchant. So, for example, with Everly Candles, like we work with one of her fulfillment partners because she holds her inventory there, and then we do delivery on behalf of her through their fulfillment partner. Some of them are right from their house. We go pick up. Some of them, So there's a different, depending on the client, we do pickups differently.
Okay, so it's really like where their stuff is, you pick it up.
Yeah.
And do you guys have your own like idea of like maybe creating some warehouse, or is that just too far?
Yes, we do. So we've actually just moved a lot of our operations in-house, which means we have now access to warehouse space that's our own. So something we are considering is basically opening up mini fulfillment for small, mid-sized businesses as they're scaling and growing. Because that just makes it a lot easier, right? We can just say, we'll hold your inventory, and every time an order comes in, we'll pack it, we'll ship it out. You don't have to worry
And
about
how much
anything.
does it cost, like for Shippie to like just do your fulfillment? Like you don't have to talk about Everly, but like any product. Like
So we haven't really considered fulfillment quite yet. We haven't, because we don't do fulfillment.
Yeah.
But you know, it's competitive. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Wild ride. I've watched you guys grow. I've watched you guys make a lot of different moves. Let's talk about the journey that you're on today. I mean, you guys are growing day over day. Even before we started working with you, Evan was like, oh, I know Shippie. Like it's going throughout the city. A lot of e-commerce brands know about you guys. What is the move for the next couple of years? What is your plan going forward?
It's really just grabbing as much market share as possible. So now we're where we built the brand up. People trust us. You know, they go onto our website, they go into the reviews, they can see that we've proven ourselves. So now it's all about maintaining that trust, gaining those new clients, and ideally expanding into new areas. So Ottawa would be the next spot.
Yeah.
Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary.
Huh? Wow.
And you think one day you'll be flying drones delivering packages? And
It's funny, yeah.
why is it not happening already?
Great question. So funnily enough, we actually have been in conversation with a company that does drone deliveries right now. They've just done a pilot out in the Toronto island where they do, I think they work like it was a pizza delivery. So it's just from the Toronto side to the island.
That's jokes.
Now,
That's funny.
we are figuring that out. A lot of it is regulations. Like, you know, if it's an apartment, where can you drop it off? Is it on a balcony? Is it on a roof? So there's a lot of these little things that you kind of have to figure out. But I'd say within the next 3 years, you definitely will start seeing drone deliveries happening in like
crazy.
downtown areas or rural. Like,
Do they do it in China? I feel like if
They
someone's
do.
going to do it, it's China.
They do. Yeah, they do have
Wow.
little drone. I mean, it's live in England too.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
really dependent on the regulations. In North America, they're very heavy on the airspace control.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know.
stuff.
We know.
Yeah.
We have like drones and video cameras. Like we can't even like
Exactly.
take off if it's in like a
Yeah, you got to
bad
report
area.
it. You got to put in a
We gotta put on a
application
vest
every time.
We gotta put
Yeah.
pylons on the floor. Get some maps out. Like it's a big hole.
So you
production.
would
Yeah,
use drones
for sure.
What's the advantage is obviously you don't need to hire a driver, but
So it's a cheaper delivery for sure, but it's just more efficient for specific geographical areas. Like what we're trying to do is pilot it in downtown apartment buildings because it makes sense. If a driver has to go drop off, go up, buzzer, like it
Terrible.
just takes
They
too
get a
long.
ticket.
Where does it land? It can't land on the balcony. It have to land.
So it would be on the idea that we were playing with is like maybe on a roof.
Yeah,
you know,
that'd
it's
be
a
cool.
designated roof, so that
Yeah.
they would just go and drop the packages off.
and no one's stealing packages from a roof.
So that's the other aspect of
Well,
security
maybe
we
they
got to
are.
figure
Why
out,
wouldn't
right?
they?
So it's
Yeah.
a security aspect. How
Because-
do you limit?
yes.
How do you make sure that whoever's going to pick up that
Yes.
package is the recipient?
Maybe
Yeah.
it could be like a crab trap, right? Where you put it in and it like can't go out type thing.
Could be, or it could be, you know, in combination would be a lockbox.
Yeah.
So you have a lockbox up there, it drops it in, and then you have a code that you give to the
Right.
recipient.
Yeah, because I will say, like, I just went to my buddy's condo downtown the other week, and the amount of packages in the lobby overflowing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, they're probably like a foot from the door. There's so many packages, and I'm just thinking to myself, sitting in this lobby, theft obviously is a thing. Like, people just walk by, scoop up a package. Like, the security guard doesn't get paid enough and is too busy doing other stuff to monitor who's taking the packages. To me, like,
It's not going to go
it's
upstairs
crazy.
and monitor the drone deliveries. You know. It's not,
Yeah, but
it's not
like,
gonna
who's
happen.
getting on the roof?
Not him.
Just people with the code.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about being a founder? You were going to go to law school. You're going to become a lawyer. Changed it. You're back here. You're running this company. Whether you like it or not, you're doing a lot of. You're too fast right now to stop. Like, what is your favorite thing about being a founder?
I'd say that it may sound cliche, but I would say being a founder is really exciting because every single day it's some different problem. Like versus, you know, jobs that it's a 9 to 5 or you're working a normal job. You know the scope of your work. You know the scope of problems you're going to deal with. So you don't have anything that, you know, will surprise you. Whereas being a founder, I mean, you can wake up one day, you have the greatest news,
Or the worst?
like fantastic news, and then 2 hours later you can get something that completely just it doesn't even matter
Put
at
it
that
out,
point.
yeah.
You're like, all right, I got to figure this out. I got to turn this shit around. So it's definitely exciting. I think it's not being consistent. I like the idea of like, okay, I have to always figure something out.
But I mean, dude, like that, look, a day is one thing, like a bad news of the day, and then it's solved the next day. But like for me, for example, like we just had one of the hardest projects we've ever done. Like we put so much love and effort into it, and like it's been kind of a nightmare for the last 2 weeks, and that's fine. But like, how do you stay positive when so much is going wrong at the first place? When we talk about the investor pullout, I know you guys had some investors that decided it wasn't the right fit, or maybe they couldn't back it up, whatever it was. How do you deal with those super low points? Because you got a team now. Right? It's not just you. You got to keep motivation up. I know your partners are more CTO roles, right? You're really the guy that's like pushing the ship every single day.
Well, yeah. Can we just talk about that, like
Yeah.
for like listeners, just for some context, because I feel like it's a good point to pivot into it. Let me just say, we always for the episodes that we've done so far, we always talk about the good shit, and I think people need to understand there's also bad shit that goes on about being an entrepreneur, a founder, a business owner. So yeah, just for context for listeners, explain what happened with the investors.
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of things. The biggest thing I learned with, it may sound like it's pretty straightforward, but when you're speaking to these investors, there's two things. One is you got to be really, really well prepared, more prepared than you think you are. Like even when you're there and you're like, okay, I'm prepped, I got my numbers, I got you, run it over
They
again.
could throw you something and you just look like
Keep going.
Exactly.
Like you're never really there. And then the second piece is knowing the investors you're speaking to. So I think the mistake that why they pulled out was that they just weren't the right fit. And sometimes you want to, when you get in bed with an investor, they're going to be there for quite a while, right? So you have to make sure that they're the right ones. It was a little too early for them, but on our end, after we reevaluated, we're like, maybe they're not the right fit. So it was almost a blessing in disguise, right? We didn't have to take that money. We weren't handcuffed to them.
What is
You
not
just got to move forward. Honestly, it's like you're going to get a lot as a founder. You're going to get a lot of no's, especially when you're financing. Like most of it is going to be no. You can't let that affect you. It's got to push that drive further. 99 no's. That one yes is going to feel so much better.
100%. And what, like, even for myself, let me ask, what does it mean when an investor is not the right fit? Because obviously I understand, okay, this is not the right amount of money or not enough, or is it just like constraints on the contract, like expectations?
No, I think a lot of it, especially early on, is vision. If your visions align. Because a lot of the times the investors we speak to, they might like the idea because they see the numbers are well, but they want to pull out. Like their goal is to exit as quick as possible and make a return on their investment.
Gotcha.
If you're building a business that's short term and you're looking to sell, that's great. Like that makes sense. But if you're trying to build something long lasting and you get involved with someone who's looking for a quick return, you're going to have competing ideas, right? They're going to want to get that profit back, whereas you might be saying, I want to build value. So that's kind of where you got to figure out who you want to take money from. And that's where doing due diligence on your end as a founder on the investors is super important. I think we've also gotten to this stage where founders almost feel intimidated by VCs and investors, because the idea is like, I'm asking for money, so you're the one who's asking, but it should be flipped. It's like, do you want to be involved in something that can make you money?
Yeah.
Right. And I think more founders should have that type of mentality going into these talks so they can balance out the power imbalance right now. Because I feel like these money folk have a lot of power,
Yeah.
It makes sense. They have the money, but
It's probably sad too, because a lot of investors like put these people in a room and they're like, yeah, we'll do it if you change this aspect of your business, if you fire your CTO, if you change the whole thing, if you get into air drone delivery, like things that are not maybe in the vision at one point, but not now. And
and
there's a lot of people that be like, yeah,
exactly.
let's do it.
And speaking of vision, the other thing that I learned through this past year and a half is vision. I used to think that vision was like a static thing. Like you guys, you sit down with your founders, you create a vision and you just work towards it. That shouldn't be the case. You have to have it be dynamic because everything changes in the next day, in the next month, in the next year, right? I mean, just look at the world events right now. No one could have predicted the crisis, like all these things are happening. So if you stick too much to your vision and you're like dogged and you're super focused, that's good. But on the flip side, it's going to be really difficult for you to adapt, for you to pivot to changes, for you to like, okay, maybe this product is not so good right now. Let's divert resources to this product, right?
100%. No, it's a good point. I think as founders, like you said, you need to be very adaptive. And I mean, just through literally I feel like the whole time we've chatted today, it's pretty evident that you've always been adaptive. You've always not cared too much about the current kind of like what's going on. You've kind of you've always had goals in mind, and whatever it takes to get there, you've done, whether it's getting investors or whether that's funding it through yourself when your investors pull out. It's just, it seems to me like you've always kind of just said, okay, well, it is what it is. This is what we have. Let's just work with what we have.
I think it's important for founders to have that ability to really say, pivot if you have to, change your tactics, change it up, adapt to the different circumstances, especially in today's age, because there's things that are changing so quickly. Consumer habits, technology, things are so quick. And if you go into starting a business with no, my idea is the right one, I'm not going to change it, you're going to have a really hard time scaling and growing and adapting to the changing environments, right? Mm-hmm.
Can I just can we flip the script a bit? And I just feel like we're all, we've all known each other enough so we can all just be real with each other. Have a little, not a little debate, but I hear you talking about kind of there's no 9 to 5 in China, and it's kind of the work ethic is different there. And it just it reminded me of something that us as partners, me, Zach, and Nerlin at our agency have always talked about for a while now, which is what is acceptable in terms of taking time off, in terms of vacation. And I think us as partners are even a bit polarized on what we think is acceptable or what we think is beneficial to both the company and the employees. So just what's your view on how, are you someone who's just we have a company to build, we will build it at all means necessary, and if that means working 365 days of the year, 12 hours a day, we'll do it? Or are you someone who thinks, listen, people need breaks, people need vacation, time off is actually beneficial in the long run?
Let me paint you a picture, for example. I have not taken a break in 3 years. I'm at it every single day. Nerlin doesn't believe in civic holidays. He thinks that they should not exist. He says he doesn't care. And Evan, for example, he'll go to Italy, for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I think he's got another trip planned next month. I think he's going to Rome or something like that. So we all have different. We're all coming from
Dubai.
Dubai. He's going to Dubai next month. But for someone like you, what is Shippie's stance on this? What's your stance on this?
Not so much Shippie, just you as a you.
So I think it's a little tricky. I think it's very dependent on the individual. If you're able to do, a big benefit for us is that we are virtual. So we've had employees who went, he went to go see his girlfriend for a month in Wyoming or something, but he was able to work through, he was online, he was communicative, he was doing the ops. So it depends on what kind of work it is. But I think as a founder, you should always be working in a way. But that's not to say you need to take a break in order for you to be able to work better. Mm-hmm. And that balance is completely different for you, and you, right? It's always going to be different. I may only need maybe 1 day a week to kind of recoup and relax, and I'm good for the next 6 days. Zach might need 2 days, or maybe he needs just an afternoon and he's good. So I think it really depends on that. And once you guys figure out what those differences are, if, Evan wants to take a 2-week break, as long as he gets his shit done and you're confident that you can do, I feel like it's the results.
It's not so much us as founders, because first of all, Zach took a month off last year and went to Texas and Mexico. So I'm not sure what he's talking about. But no, as founders, I think one reason why this partnership works so well is that we all respect, if someone wants to take time off, they can. We get our shit done, like you said. So it's not so much the partnership, it's just so much when we're starting to build our company out, we're starting to hire people, we're starting to build that company culture, and you want, it's such a fine line between being that cool boss that respects people's time and that boss that expects performance, right? Because no one wants to be that type of boss that micromanages and says no, you can't take vacation ever. But you also care about your company to the point where they're needs to be a level of expectation and performance, right? So it's just I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know if I have a question to you. It's such a tricky fine line to balance.
It is. But again, as I mentioned, being virtual and having the ability to work virtually, some employees might be I'll go on my break, but I'll still work. I'll be available, I can. So it really, I think it's just, as a founder or as a boss, you just got to figure out the individual circumstances, and building culture is important. Of course, you don't want people coming in and be oh wow, these guys don't do holidays at all, that's not, but also not the flip side. Wow, these guys are always on holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like you don't want either of those. So
Yeah.
it's always finding that balance, which is definitely tricky.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I think we're running out of time, but before we cut the episode, and it's so random, but I know you've always been a big reader, right?
I do.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, like, during one of our first meetings together after not speaking to each other for, like, however many years it was, I saw you had stacks of books in your bedroom, which is so awesome to see. Are you reading anything at the moment? I would love for you to shout out a couple books that the listeners can possibly... No pressure. If you're not reading anything, cool. No pressure. But
No, I mean, I would love to tell you what I'm reading. I just don't know if any listeners would find it too
no,
interesting.
go for it. Go for it.
It's
You
not
never
really
know.
business.
No,
related.
it doesn't have to be business. Honestly.
Well, yeah, I'm reading 2 books right now on American history.
That's fascinating.
One is by Gordon Wood called On Liberty, I believe, and one is called The People's America by Howard Zinn. And the reason why I'm reading these 2 is both are writing about the history of America in a very diametrically opposed way. So on Liberty, the viewpoint is like the best that America has to offer. Like, why did we create this system? The thought behind the the founding fathers and all that. So it's painted in a very nice, pretty light. Versus Howard Zinn's is the real practical effect of these things. So like, okay, sure, the founders are great, but they made laws specifically for landowners. And how does that translate now into the real world of, wow, we have a lot of people who have the inequality of wealth is massive. So those are the 2 books. And I would suggest if anybody likes American history, I think reading those 2 books together is great because you get one which is very, I guess you could say pro-America, and one which is very like realistic.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I will say, like, at least in my experience with reading, there's a lesson to be learned through any non-fiction book, I'd say. Not so much fiction, at least for me. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a business book to take away something that's, business focused, right? Like, I'm sure there's stuff in these books that change your perspective or mindset that you can apply to.
So I think the reason why I like to read so much, then this is because of my mother. I have to shout out my mother. She raised me with, she would always throw books in my bed. She would put it in my room. She would force me to read certain small books. So developing that love for reading. In the beginning as a kid, you're like, fuck, I don't want to read. I don't like, who cares about Magic Tree House? But I remember reading Magic Tree House like every day. And then that made reading every day normal to me, right? So it's building that structure. But reading allows you to appreciate from a different perspective, from the writer's perspective, whatever they're writing about. So every time you pick up a book, you're essentially looking through someone else's eyes. And I think that in and of itself is just invaluable.
100%.
Right? Because if you think about it, there's nothing else. Movie, sure, you're looking at it, but it's on a static screen. So they're giving you what you have to see.
Versus interpretation.
Versus a book, you're reading it and you're kind of in your mind imagining, okay, how would I feel if I was in the same position this man or this woman was? So I think it's just an invaluable thing that a lot of people have stopped doing, which I think is a shame.
Yeah.
So if I could, one suggestion would be, pick up a book. Just read any book.
Zach, you should pick up those America books. Don't you love America?
I do love
I'm not
America.
to get into this, but
I do love history as well too. I just like more podcasts. So I like Hardcore History. If you've ever listened.
Audiobooks are
Fantastic.
valid.
That guy goes hard.
Yeah.
Like his episodes.
It's great.
Wait,
You know about
what?
them?
Which?
This guy Dan Carlin. So he does like a series. Like so
On
he did one
America?
on Japan.
Yeah, he just does history podcasts.
History
that's
podcast.
cool.
Yeah.
But his episodes are 5 hours each.
They're like
And-
audiobooks almost.
Yeah,
Basically.
And he
That's cool.
works on them. He works on them though, like he did like I think for 3 years he worked on this one episode about like Japan during World War II, and it was insane. Like so that I'm more of like an audio person.
No, that's
like,
valid. It's
Yeah.
still, in my opinion, you're still a reader if you're listening to
Do you
audiobooks.
like?
Are
you against the Kobo?
debate that.
Oh, okay.
I would disagree with that. I think reading and listening to a book, for
I was
me
just
personally,
trying to be nice.
for me personally, I don't retain the information when I listen to an audiobook as much because I'm doing other shit.
Do you have a Kobo or a Kindle?
Yeah, I did. I use the Kindle, but
You like the real
paperback books.
Yeah.
Always.
I like the
They're-
physical touch of a book better.
Then you like
I don't know
stack them on your shelf and you're like, I read all those books. At least for me.
It is a visual representation of the knowledge you've
Knowledge, yeah.
consumed. So it's
And you've done that tactically, or it's just like your room and that's how it's set up.
Like with the books stacked everywhere?
yeah, it's just like
Dude,
I
that's
had
just-
open space
that's-
and I was like,
That's just
I'm
what
gonna stick my
Jax
stuff
is.
here.
That is the type of person
I
Jax
love that.
is.
I guess to end it off, I think it would be cool. What is Shippie's plan for the next year?
Shippie's plan for the next year. So we are going to be in at least 3 other Canadian cities.
Dope.
We're going to be the dominant last mile provider in Toronto and GTA.
What does
get
last
ready.
mile mean?
So just that from the warehouse to your door.
Okay.
That piece.
Yep.
We are going to be the dominant player in that market. So get ready to just see Shippie cars, Shippie drivers, Shippie trucks. We're also going to do electric vans and vehicles. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
sustainability is a big part of our roadmap.
100%.
Beautiful.
It's very important for us.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
It was
I
a
really do want to
pleasure.
thank you for coming
Yeah,
on.
this
You're
was
very
a
special
sick
to
episode.
us. Like, yeah,
Special.
This was a great episode.
Thank you for having me on. It was awesome.
I hope the listeners enjoyed. I'm sure they did because, yeah, honestly, cool episode. I was thoroughly engaged. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on our socials. And if you want to check more out about the founder community that we have going on called The Journey, you can visit our website at www.takethejourney.co. And I can't believe I just said all of that
really good.
fluidly.
Well
that
done.
was sick.
Really good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you, guys.
guys and gals.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Talk next time.
Oh.